How do you shift into a new reality? It's the topic of today's Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, international soul embodiment guide and relationship expert. Because how? Like, how do you trust and act upon the deep soul desires that you feel, whether it's to change a job, to shift out of a relationship, to move to a new place? How do you enter the unknown? How do you begin to experience reality differently than you ever have before? How do you make those big transformative leaps and shifts? The how, right, can seem so amorphous. And yet, my experience guiding people from around the world into transformation, into a new reality, it's also pretty tangible. And I want to make it a little bit more tangible for you. That being said, every soul has a unique experience because each soul is its own unique energy signature. And so the way in which your energy is manifesting and the way in which you work with your energy might be very unique to you. And take what I say, right, through your soul to feel into your inner compass, your body, to know what is true for you and what is not true for you. That's sovereignty. Soul embodiment is the path to sovereignty. And the more you trust and anchor into your soul truth, not your ego, right? The ego naturally resists change. It likes to cling on to what it knows and what is familiar, what makes it feel safe, rather than the soul, which goes, I know. And it anchors into a divine safety, it anchors into divine truth, and it moves through that egoic resistance with as much grace and compassion and love as possible. And that is part of how you shift into and create a new reality. It was working with your ego. Now, what is the ego and what is the soul? I want to define these terms that we're all on the same page because I know there are a lot of different definitions out there. When I refer to ego, I am referring to the part of you that believes it is only physical, only has a physical body, that believes it is separate from God, source, the divine, however you define it. And the soul is the individuated aspect of the divine that is you. Therefore, when you're working on shifting from one state to another, what you're really doing is anchoring into your soul truth as you release what is not your soul truth, which is the part of you that is not in alignment with the divine that you are, that is in scarcity, that is in lack, that seeks security through belongings, possession, money in the bank account, other people's valuing or opinions, the part of you that is in fear, doubt, the part of you that feels unworthy, right? These are all what I would call wounds of humanity that keep us from living our soul truth, that keep us from being sovereign, because sovereignty does require that you confront and heal these wounds to anchor into your divinity here in form. And in order to shift from one reality to another, in order to live your soul's dreams and desires, or to experience that thing you really long for, if it's not already in your reality, then you have the opportunity to look at what might be preventing me from experiencing this. I'm going to pause again because there's also a lot out there that says if you don't already experience in your reality what you want, then something is wrong with you. And you're not doing it right. You got to do it better. You got to fix yourself. And there's a lot around manifestation in that sense. That's that's pointing the finger, and it can create cycles of shame and guilt and not enoughness. And we don't actually create from soul when we are creating from lack. We create from soul when we're creating from fullness, not from I am not enoughness, but rather I am enough. I am already enough. I am already divine. I am already that. And therefore, I create that and experience that. And also simultaneously, I trust that every single thing that is happening is for me, is for my soul, is for my advancement, is for my healing, is for my embodiment. Because often what happens on a soul path is that you come into a new energetic shift, and then an opportunity arises for you to embody it, which is to then choose to be in alignment with your new energy rather than repeating an old pattern, say from the past. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's not because you didn't make the shift. It's giving you the opportunity to anchor that shift into physical form. And it's not because anything is wrong with you. Okay, very important to understand. Because as you shift into a new reality, it is really about shifting your beliefs, your thoughts, your frequency, your emotions, and your body into the new, not into the old. I'm going to say that one more time. In order to shift into a new reality, to create what you truly desire, your soul desires, you have to start attuning your energy, your thoughts, and your beliefs, and your emotions, and your body toward that which you desire and away from that which you do not want. This is where the subconscious mind comes into play. Now, when I work with clients one-on-one, or when they enter one of my containers or retreats, a lot of the work is around the subconscious mind, because the subconscious means it's below the level of consciousness, that we're not aware, right? That this belief or this experience, this energy, this trauma is preventing or affecting our capacity to receive something we want, for example. So if you are habitually operating in a state of lack, but you want more abundance or money in your life, there's a subconscious, quote, block. I use that term lightly because I don't necessarily see it as a problem, but more as an opportunity to address what that karma, that energetic groove may have been in your reality until this point for a reason, to give the soul the experience it wanted and needed. And now the soul is choosing to have a different experience that is more in alignment with its truth. And so you have to shift out of the subconscious habitual pattern of lack. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. There's never enough. There's like lack of gratitude, feeling incomplete. There's always more outward energy versus the abundance, right? I am that. I embody that. The gratitude, the fullness, the beingness state of already having versus not having. And you can shift that through your thoughts. When you go to the grocery store, when you have an opportunity to invest in something your soul desires, are you going, I don't have enough, I can't? Or are you going, I trust that if my soul desires this, then I will have enough for this, because my soul would not lead me into that which I cannot afford, right? The soul knows what the mind cannot know. Well, I'm not saying don't be reasonable. I'm saying you have to trust the inner voice more than the fear, and work with the fear. Look at it, spend time with it, get curious about it. Talked about that. It was the last episode or two. You have to shift the thoughts that are constantly taking you into lack and shift them into thoughts that are taking you into fullness, into having, into abundance. One example. You can also start to work with the emotional state, meaning if the emotional state is grief, I don't have this. Like, you say you want a relationship that you don't have. You want to experience a type of a love or union, connection you don't have in your life. If you are constantly focusing on not having it, and your emotional state is, I don't have that, I'm lacking love, I'm lacking connection, I don't feel like I belong, right? That's that habitual emotional state. even unconsciously. You might not even realize how much you're vibrating that out into the world. Until you start to shift with the emotions and connect with the emotions in your body, you're not going to be able to be in that state, that emotional state of what would really create a sovereign relationship, which is entering out of a state of wholeness and true desire and fullness. I'm already that, versus I need you in order to feel that thing I don't have or think I don't have. So if you're longing a relationship, for example, I would really look at what are your thoughts around that? What are your emotions around that? Where are you waiting for something else to happen before you can experience joy? Where are you waiting for something else to happen before you're in a state of full-bodied pleasure or loving on yourself or experiencing union? True union with another comes from union with yourself. And looking at the emotions of, okay, maybe there's actually just unresolved grief of loss or separation that you're trying to fill by searching or grabbing onto something or someone else. This is why it's so unique to each individual. Okay. You have to be radically honest with yourself. And self-awareness is not enough. Self-awareness is step one of like 20. When you have the self-awareness, okay, so I'm actually longing this because I'm not feeling enough joy and pleasure and aliveness in my life now. So I think that having a partner is going to give me that aliveness I don't already have, quote. Then you get to spend time with what are these things really coming up within me and being honest about this. Well, I think I can only have that when there's this person in my life. I think I could only have money when I have this kind of job. I think I can only have security when I'm acting this way or doing this thing or being responsible in the way society says versus soul responsibility, just how you respond to, right? Versus a overarching mandate of what is good behavior, not good behavior. And you dig deeper into what is the belief underneath that? Is there an experience here that has yet to be resolved? Is there some soul karma here, right? That is playing out. And that soul karma, what is karma? I did a whole episode on this previously, and I'll talk more about this in future episodes. But karma is really like an energetic imprint that you carry from one life to another. And that energy is vibrating in a certain frequency. And so if you want to shift out of karma, part of that is bringing the soul back into wholeness. And part of that is also upgrading your frequency. And that's why if you want to shift into a new reality, if you want to create something new, you have to shift your frequency out of the old state into the new state. If the frequency is lower, by lower, I don't mean bad. By lower, I mean one of lack, one of fear, one of doubt, not trusting the self, not having, then you get to attune to that frequency. Where is this? What's the story? What's the belief? What's the thought? And then also, like, what is the soul truth, right? You're tuning into what is the soul truth. And if you don't know how to do this, if you don't know how to connect to the soul truth and differentiate what is subconscious versus what is soul truth, that's all part of what I offer in the Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series, which is only $197, available at thepathtosovereignty.com, or my one-on-one offerings. Because that's the key here, right? You have to differentiate what is familiar, what is the old, what is the pattern, what is what I've been told, what is what I've experienced before, and what is the new, what is it that I truly desire. And then shift the frequency of your energetic state. Personally, what I use for that with my clients are energetic activations, where we're literally shifting your energetic state. But then that has to be followed up with the alignment of that new energetic shift into how you think, into how you feel, and to how you're showing up. So what choices are you then making to embody the shift? And as you embody the shift, you become become that which you desire, and you then magnetize those opportunities to you because the soul says, now I am ready for this new reality. But it does require you make those choices that move beyond the rational mind, beyond the logical mind, into trusting the soul, because trusting the soul is such a key piece of both soul embodiment and sovereignty and being in your power. Trusting the soul, it is absolutely essential, because the soul is not limited by time or space. The soul knows what the mind can never know. And if the soul is guiding you to quit your job, if the soul is guiding you to leave the relationship, if your soul is guiding you to start XYZ, trusting that will bring you that which your soul desires for your life. The ego will try to keep you safe by clinging to what's familiar. This is just human nature. And so at each point in your evolution, at each point, your soul is asking you to make a shift. You, with radical honesty, go into the body, connect with the emotions, connect with the thoughts, connect with the beliefs, because your emotions connect you with the subconscious mind. Oh, the fear is arising. If I do that, I won't be secure. If I do that, I won't have enough money. If I do that, I'll be all alone. If I do that, I won't XYZ, fill in the blank. Then you look at it, you look at it, you look at it, you look at it again and again and again. You get to the root. This is what I do with clients. I laser coaching. I help them get to the root. I help them get to the root of the subconscious blocks. I help them get to the root of the energetic blocks. I help them get to the root of the emotional patterns that keep you going in circles and circles and circles, like you're banging your head against the wall, because you can't get out of it, because you're not letting go of the known, or you don't know how to let go of the known, and you don't know how to face these fears. That's why it's helpful to have somebody to help you see what you don't see, the ways you're keeping yourself stuck, and old ways of being that no longer serve you, because you have to release the old identity to come into a new identity. To do another episode on this called how to shift from an old identity into a new identity, how to shift your identity. So you can go into that for other tips and tools that you can apply to your life. You have to let go of the old to enter the new. But this happens internally often before it happens externally. And that's the internal work of the beliefs, the thoughts, the emotions, the frequency, the choices. If I want that, am I making choices that move me toward that which I desire, or away? So am I willing to make that leap of trust in my soul when my mind would try to keep me safe in the old? Are you? That's the question. That's really the question. Because change requires discomfort. You cannot make that change without discomfort. And you can't bring the old identity into the new reality. So that's the work. And if you want support in that level of work, I have the Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series, which you can utilize. It's 8 activations and embodiment practices so that you apply this to your life. You create the energetic shifts, you dig into the emotions, you dig into the thoughts. Available at thepathtosovereignty.com, or my one-on-one offerings. I'm shifting those around to do either 3, 6, or 9 sessions, depending on what you choose. And that includes the Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series and online portal yoga weekly classes, so that you go deeper and deeper into your body. You hear more and more of your soul truth. You align more and more to the truth of who you are, and you shift into a new reality. Also, 2 upcoming retreats, Holy Sensuality in Pennsylvania and Sacred Feminine Power in Greece. So be sure to go to thepathtosovereignty.com to join us in any of those portals of transformation. And I'll put the links below as well. So sending you lots of love, and I'll see you next week.